the DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is the Friday Midday Market Report, April 28th, 2023. Pucks, props, expert from across the border, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis in the studios to talk playoff hockey for, and I'm not golfing when I say for, but when I do golf, I do say that a lot. Elimination games, and of course the locals where I am high above ice time, but they're in Florida, of course. The Bruins look to not have to face a game 7 where anything can happen. The same with the Islanders, the Wild, and of course the Avs, who were the favorites, the favorites to come out of the West, the defending Cup champions, down 3-2. And listen, I'm not the puck expert. I am not, but I will tell you this. I've watched a lot of that series, and it was a bad matchup from the go, but I think the Kraken have been the better team the first 5 games, and Colorado looking to force a game 7 there. Currently opened at 155, now 154 at the Circa. But enough of my talk. Let's bring in the real expert, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis.
You're the one that's been red hot. I could listen to you chat. I could read your emails all day long, every day of the week. So happy Friday, Jeff. Good to be here.
Happy Friday. And last night, the Knights, Vegas, when Vegas is cooking with Crisco, they score real early. And if you've never been to a Knights game, I know you have, it is a show, and their intro, their little skit before the game starts, the place is absolutely electric. You're right on top of the ice. And then like last night, first minute they score, they go to the break, they come back to start the second period, they score again in the first minute. Jets to start the series, steal a game, and then the great whiteout, down 4-1, tie it 4-4, losing double overtime. And from there on in, they just couldn't get their sea legs. Hats off to Bruce Cassidy and the Knights. Are you buying the Knights at this point?
I mean, look, I don't want to say anything bad towards them. I just think that Josh Morrissey going out, Nick Ehlers getting that nasty hit from Ryan Hartman before the season ended, and then and Scheifele being injured, we didn't really see the best stuff that Winnipeg had to offer, but I have to build off one thing you said, was those fast starts. They're known for that. It's one thing that they've been really, really strong at, especially at home, scoring in the first period, getting off to a really good start. They aren't late starters, which is a really good thing about that team. Chandler Stevenson playing out of his mind, really making a good name for himself in that series. So I wouldn't count this Vegas Golden Knights team out. They've got a lot of talent, a goalie that's playing really well, and they're very disciplined. They don't take a lot of bad penalties, which in the playoffs is something that I have my eye on quite a bit. And also, Jeff, they're not a bad team on the road either, which I saw yesterday. There was a trend, 14 in the last 17 games. I think it was, or no, sorry, it was 11-3 run for road teams in the playoffs, which is very, very, very incredible. I mean, for someone that really writes a lot into home ice advantage, I had to make a quick adjustment to my handicapping.
And the road teams have been running wild in the Stanley Cup first round. It's hard to believe it's already only the first round, and we're getting to the nitty gritty. Of course, the Leafs being the Leafs can't take care of home ice and the theatrics. Tampa start to finish. Yeah, they cut it to 3-2 late, but thanks for playing, of course. Now we're going to be going back to a game 6 in Tampa, a team that's been to the Cup 3 times in a row, a team that you get Vasilevsky going and he gets hot and it's lights out, because we both know there's no way in holy hell the Leafs won a game 7. That place will be like a church.
Well, the stuff I saw last night on TNT with Armstrong and Biz talking about the crowd in Toronto. As someone that's wearing the Habs hat right now, I'm used to saying some things about the Maple Leafs and their crowd, but I get it. I mean, it's a hot city. It's a hot ticket, but the prices are absolutely ridiculous. I keep saying this. The hardcore fans are at bars and they're at home watching. It was very quiet in general in that arena yesterday. I can't imagine what it'll be like in a game 7. But hey, look, the positive thing is if you're a Leafs bettor and a Leafs backer and a fan, they have a better record, I'm pretty sure, on the road. They're 2-1 on the road. Is that correct? Or they're 2-0 on the road. They won, but they won both games. That's how they got up 3-1. So
Yep.
This is a spot that they're not going to be really worried about because they have gotten the job done. Now, here's the problem. They potentially have gotten outplayed in 4 to 5 games so far and maybe outcoached. If Vasilevsky plays how he did yesterday again in game 6, they could be in trouble. I'm predicting right now that Michael Bunting will jump back into the lineup. I think that he'll be in for Lafferty. I think Justin Hall should be out of the lineup. He has been on the ice for 2/3 of the goals Tampa Bay has scored, which is pretty crazy to think about. I know he's a defenseman and always out there, but I think it's actually more than that. I mean, it's unbelievable how much, he's been on the ice for their mistakes. But I have to think, Jeff, that this series, it might actually be slowing down as far as the goals are concerned. Yesterday, I was happy to just continue to ride the streak. I didn't really have any big plays yesterday, but that first period over hit, and after that first period over hit, the game leveled out completely. And one factor, I think, the referees let the play go. They didn't call a lot. And if you notice, there weren't that many scuffles after the whistle. The guys don't want to take any penalties, and it's really big. But what are your thoughts on that? I'm actually thinking about playing an under on Saturday.
I have opening number 6.5 circa right now, 6.5 juiced under. My next point, maybe we can tie the two together as we've talked about here. Shout out to Mr. Lucky because he retweeted it. Shout out to Marty Lowe. What is up, Marty? Roll Tide, roll Tide. The third period overs. Mm-hmm. So where I'm going to correlate this is take the under pre-flop and then take a look at after 2 what that number is. They've been 2.5 at even or plus money, and you might, believe it or not, still be able to get almost a middle out of it.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. We've seen late game heroics multiple times now. I mean, think about this. Yesterday, we saw 2 goals with the goalie pulled, one for the offensive team and then 1 empty net goal. So, I mean, that's, people tell me all the time, Jeff, you can't handicap empty netters. Oh, I can. I will in elimination games because you're going to see it a lot. And I got to give credit to Sheldon Keefe for pulling the goalie, I think, with 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the third period. They score a goal. And I saw Matthews, he was waving Keefe off because he wanted to do it again right away, which he ultimately ended up doing. But it's a factor. Yet last game between Florida and Boston, I was lucky to cash the full game over. But I even double dipped, Jeff. I jumped on that third period over as well. And we saw a very similar thing. We actually saw overtime, which led to that as well. So that is one thing I will say about the third period overs. You'll get a better number than the live over because, of course, there's the overtime. But there's no worse feeling than when you need 3 over 2.5 plus money and it ends on, going to overtime. Because you already know the second that game's tied up, they're playing for overtime. 100%. They're ready to go back to the locker room and catch a breath. But I don't know. I think I might look at the same thing, the same approach that you just mentioned there. I think is in play as well tonight with the Boston and Florida game.
Well, let's get to tonight's schedule. Bruins, Panthers. Actually, I'll go by times here. Carolina Islanders, 7:05 puck drop. Overnight number Islanders -117. Under over. Get this one. 5 over -40 cents. Currently at circa as we speak. Islanders -115. You can grab the Canes at +105. 5.5 under juiced 45 cents.
So much to dive into in that game. But I will say that number one, if you're not betting goalie save props on Ilya Sorokin, you're missing out at this point. He's +100 even money over 30.5 saves. That's one that everybody should lock in right now. Pause the video, lock that one in. Come back to us. Sorokin has been standing on his head. He's been the backbone to this team for the New York Islanders. That will be a play that I will be giving to my clients. Sorokin over 30.5 saves for the Islanders. When you look at how many shots the Carolina Hurricanes took, how many different guys are making a difference, and also last game we saw, I think, Carolina go 0 for 4, New York go 0 for 3 on the power play. I tell you that for totals, I really read into that. I don't think we see a combined 0 for 7 on the power play. And maybe the referees do take their, they do take a step back as far as the calls they're making. But even still, it's been a very physical series, a nasty one. I could see some power plays, which will lead to goals. Even though we did see an Islanders 3-2 victory in the last game, there was also a disallowed goal for Carolina, a couple posts hit, lots of 2-on-1 chances for Carolina. I'm not buying as much that, like, honestly, I've got a big play on the Rangers to win the series, and I think there's a better chance the Devils beat the Rangers than there is for the Islanders to beat the Hurricanes. Obviously, I know that it's easy to say that now because of the situation the Rangers are in, but I just don't know if the Islanders can repeat their performance, Jeff, that they had last game. Now, when I'm looking at things, I'm at the point now that, wow, I got to mention this. That just went from +100 to +110. So somebody just jumped on and baited me big time on the Sorokin prop. So we can now get +110 on that one. But in these elimination games and in these type of hockey games, Jeff, a lot of the times I like to look towards -1.5s. And when you look at the fact that the Islanders are the favorites in this, I don't want anyone to think I'm trying to get too fancy here, but you scroll down and you get Carolina -1.5 +245, which I think that if you look at the analytics, you look at how they performed last game, there's too many weapons on that team versus how New York has, I think, not enough guys. If you contain a few players on the Islanders, you shut them down. So I honestly think that Sorokin prop is good, but it's almost a hedge off your puck line. If you don't hit that, you're going to go 1-1 at the worst. That's kind of the way I see it. And I'm hopeful to hit both. But those are the two plays I'll say on that early game there. Sorokin over 30.5 saves, and Carolina alternate puck line -1.5. And I'll say it again, +245.
I was comparing that series to the Bruins series with Carolina last year, and the home teams won all 7 games. The Bruins never led in Carolina for any of the 4 games last year. It's kind of going the same way till Carolina broke serve, and then the Islanders come back and break serve. So you're trying to compare the two, and I agree with you. Both New York teams, I don't want to say on life support, they're at home for game 6. You win game 6, anything can happen in game 7. Carolina's the better team. So if I asked you pinpoint, and I know you already said it with what your suggestion here, we think Carolina reverts to game, was it 4 or 5, 3 or 4, I'm sorry, when they won in New York versus the Bruins in Carolina.
Yes. I mean, look, Honestly, Jeff, earlier in the day, my mind was set on taking the Islanders team total under 2.5, which was minus 105. But then the more I looked at some stuff like from last game, and you can go on the NHL website and you can actually look at different chances created, and you can look at different natural stat trick, moneypuck.com. And one of my favorite things about Money Puck is they show you line by line how each line performed. And when I looked at it for the Islanders, I truly saw a few guys performing, and it was a big drop off after that. So I'm not worried about the home ice here. I think the Carolina can get it done. But I will say I was shocked last game. I was like you. I was like, nope, they're not going to lose at home. This is where they're successful, and they did. But what are your thoughts there on the approach with the minus 1.5? Because obviously some might say it's greedy, but I just think the winner of this game will actually win by more than one goal.
I just go back to the opening line. And as we know, as the series progresses to round 2, 3 in the cup, obviously, usually speaking, the totals get, when you see a 5, your eyes light up and you're like, holy shit. But 5 juiced over, Now, what is the real line right now? Or what is the market saying? 5.5 juiced under. So initially, 3-2. Who scores 3 first was going to win this game. Now with your approach, this final could be 4-1. It could be, 3-1. They could get shut out. So I like the thought process. I do. I'm trying to wrap my head around it, because with that thought process, I would assume when we get to it next, you would have the same mentality, meaning the Bruins, who laid an egg, like the Leafs, like so many, like the Celtics in Game 5, so many like the Leafs. It's a wake-up call. You don't want a Game 7. You're going to get the best of these teams early and often. So I could see Carolina winning the first period. I could see the Bruins winning the first period. But I think you're spot on with your approach.
It's just, to me, so interesting that you look at these teams, and I think that when they're in bounce back mode, when they're not playing how they should, like look at the Rangers, for example. They've been the most frustrating team. I think if they win tomorrow, they're going to win like they did in game 1 and 2. 4-1. Igor has not been the problem for the Rangers, I don't think. It's been their offense. We haven't seen their offense since game 2. So I try not to overreact to what I've seen over the past few games, but I also at the same time have to use that for my handicapping. It's more so for me, if this team wins, how will they win? And same thing for the Bruins, like you said. I like the third period over before the game even starts. I'll put it that way. I like Matthew Tkachuk over 3.5 shots on goal. He's had a combined 12 shots over the last 3 games. Last game he had the game-winning goal, but he actually only had a couple of shots. He did go under his number there. Brandon Montour is a good guy to look at. But here's a player on the Boston Bruins. Any of you guys that are prop players out there, you got to watch out for Taylor Hall. He has been unbelievable. Hart Trophy winner, playing on a third line. Are you kidding me? He has been outstanding for them. And the best part is about him being on that third line, you're going to get a great number on his props. I'll pull up the current number so I can get the accurate price here for him. Taylor Hall to get a point tonight, minus 110.
I like that. I like that a lot here. Andrew, I don't know if you thought of this. Yes, the Panthers are dogs. The Islanders are home. They're favored. The Wild are home. They're favored. And then the Avs are big favorites. So if the favorites just win, you're going to have 3 Game 7s on Sunday. I mean, you might as well tell the bride that my butt's not leaving the couch. I mean, if the Panthers upset the Bruins tonight, which I don't think will happen, the fact is if the 3 favorites below all win, there's 3 Game 7s, and that's in round 1 on Sunday.
It's unbelievable. You love to see it. I mean, and you always preach, Jeff, about managing the bankroll, team totals, puck line, first period, whatever it might be. And that's why I'd suggest If you like the Bruins tonight, play the team total. If you like the Hurricanes, play the team total. If you like the Avalanche, play the team total. If you sure as hell like the Stars, play their team total or the puck line. Because especially in these elimination games, like it's a perfect example. It makes me look kind of good, but it could have backfired. Look at the Bruins Florida game last time. You either play the puck line or they lose. And they went to overtime. They not only went to overtime, but they lose the game. So what were the Bruins laying in the last game, game 5? Like minus 160, was it? Or 140?
No. They were right around that 165-ish, somewhere around there.
So I mean, you're down 1.6 units right away, versus the puck line. If they win, I believe they will win. So it sounds like, and for the record, for anybody that never really watched or heard from me before, I'm not a huge puck line guy, Jeff. I during the regular season stay away from those, but I think in the playoffs now, it's a good time to look at it. And also on my prop show today, I was talking about certain teams. You can handicap them all differently. If you're not having McInnis over 4.5 shots on goal in your prop selection tonight, I don't think you bet player props very often because his team is down. Valerie Nichushkin is dealing with some law enforcement stuff. No Landeskog. You lose Kadri last year. You got some key players that haven't been playing very well for your team. He's out there. David Pastrnak hasn't looked that good at all this series so far. Bergeron came back and looked better than Pastr did. Pastrnak over shots on goal. But here's the deal. In Tampa Bay, Alex Killorn had 10 shots yesterday. He plays in the third line. Point had 2 shots. Kucherov had 1. Stamkos 1 shot. Each team uses their star players differently. And I think that certain teams like Minnesota, Dallas is doing well this series. All of their points have been scored by 3 or 4 guys. Rupe Hintz assisted by Jason Robertson. Jason Robertson assisted by Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn assisted by Rupe Hintz. And it's important for everybody betting these props to realize that some teams, it's okay to bet those top dogs, especially in the playoffs. But certain teams like the LA Kings and the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're going to kill you with their third and fourth line. And that's why I like Tampa so much is that, again, Nick Paul was the hero yesterday. You're not going to be at a bar hearing anybody talking about Nick Paul, right? That's, to me, the biggest problem for the Maple Leafs still, is that in game 6 or 7, you're not going to hear Zach Aston Reese scored the game-winning goal. It's going to be Matthews or Marner, right? That's what it has to be.
Now, and I think you bring up a great point, and everyone that's a loyal listener with you and I, anyone that gets the ECSI VIP emails and alerts, we talk about this daily, and we're trying to extract plus money any way possible. So again, if you like the Bruins tonight, when everyone at ECSI knows I'm not giving out a minus 173, guys. Well, how are we going to get into the Bruins at plus money? You nailed it. If we are, it will either be first period minus the hook at plus money, or it will be their team total. The same if you like Colorado tonight. How are you going to get in? We are 2-0 this year in this series with Colorado first period minus the hook plus 130. Now it's on the road. It's a whole different beast here. So I think you're preaching to the choir, as everyone knows. Grab that plus money any which way you can. It's like ripping the Band-Aid off. Earlier this week, we gave out the Dodgers first 5 minus the hook. They were favored by minus 155 or 160 on the money line first 5. Okay? They were no hit. We lost. And you know what? I'd rather lose at even money versus the minus 150s, the 55s, or the 60s. Yeah. If you take the Bruins team total, for instance, over tonight, okay, and they lose 6-0, well, I didn't lose or we didn't lose minus 173. If they lose the game 8-7, well, we cash our team total. Once they hit their team total, I don't give a rat's ass who wins the game. I'm going to the Islander Carolina game.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, look at tonight. If you like all the favorites, you take the Islanders money line, Bruins money line, Avalanche money line, and pick your favorite in the Wild game. You have a lot less chance of making money than if you took the puck line, in my opinion, in all of those games. I really do. Like, this might be when you hear from me in an hour and a half, Jeff, and I send you my picks, a lot of them are probably going to be what I said here, because if I go 1-1 with puck lines, instead of losing 1.8 units going on the money line and the Bruins or whatever it might be, I'm going to go, if I go 1-1 and the Bruins puck line hits, but Avalanche puck line loses, I'm still going to be up 1.35 units. And that's the way I look at it, is that 1-1 will be profitable. Whereas if I took money line Avalanche, money line Bruins, I will not be a happy camper if I go 1-1, right?
100%.
You know all about it.
Yes. And if you like the Bruins to win tonight and you like the Avalanche to win tonight, just do a money line parlay with the two. If you had to scratch an itch that way, do not go to the window and place them both separately, because if one loses, you're losing at best 1 point. You're going to lose a half a unit, probably even more there. Yeah. Let's dig into the Bruins and Panthers. 177 opener, now 173 at Circa. You can grab the Panthers plus 157, under over 6 over minus 20 cents.
It's just so interesting to look at what Florida was able to do with the new goaltender as well. Bob, the goalie, Bobrovsky, comes in and stands on his head. And that's playoff hockey for you. I will never, ever tell a team that they got lucky because their goaltender played well. The goalie is part of the team. But I think that we're still not seeing enough dirty goals from the Bruins. Marchand scored that one right in the circle. But other than that, I'm not seeing enough really around the net, Jeff, from that Bruins team. Too much finesse from that team. But I'm not sure that we can see the goaltending and defensive masterclass we saw from Florida. And they still had to come back in the game. Let's not forget, they had to come back in a game that they probably shouldn't even have been involved in the first place. I mean, looking at Bobrovsky, the saves he made, looking at Tkachuk not really having the best game until scoring that game winner. Barkov didn't play very well, and they squeaked that one out. But I like the Bruins, but I like their team total over 3.5. I feel like they get the job done. It's the way to go. But like I've been saying, these puck lines are very intriguing to me tonight. But Taylor Hall to score a point at minus 110. How is that number lower than it was 2 days ago? I bet it at minus 130 last game in the cash. Bergeron to get a power play point. I talked about it with you before about these power play points. It's incredible to look at. Let's pick somebody right now. Pasternak. Or we'll pick somebody over 0.5. So DeBrusk over 0.5 points, minus 125. Take a look at DeBrusk to get a power play point. You're getting plus 310 on that. I mean, it's ridiculous how great these power play point props are, but give me the team total over, Jeff, 3.5 for the Boston Bruins.
Team total over 3.5 for the Bees. Next one, we have a series play on the Wild. Kind of comical. We steal game one, and it's 1-1 last Friday, and I'm staring at Dallas minus 117, and I'm like, okay, Vegas knows something. I released Dallas minus 117, Wild box to wire. And then Sunday, I'm sitting in my shit right here, and I know for a fact where this game's going, and I don't pull the trigger again. I'm like, this is definitely a Dallas number, and it had flipped. And I said this to a couple colleagues: if you liked Dallas minus 117 on Friday and played it, now they're giving you plus 110. Yeah. Go play it. Yeah. And of course, it's action parlays, and I had them on the desk, and I went for the jugular with Bob. Thanks, Bob, on the Panthers. And it didn't matter. We would have got beat by a 3-pointer at the buzzer anyways. But my point is, Minnesota's short favorite. I don't have a good feel for it. We're stuck one unit. I don't want to double dip and say I'm taking Dallas tonight and the Wild save face and it gets to a game 7, because now I could be in for this for 2 units. I personally going to let the Wild ride today. I'm not diving into Dallas. Hope I get to a game 7. The problem is Dallas will be minus 140, and I'll have to try to figure that one out, but that will be the following week. So question to you is, what's your gut telling you tonight?
My gut's telling me to bet the over.
Okay.
That's were you asking me for a side there? I honestly, Jeff, I don't have a side. Every single fan base has been complaining about the referees, but this series, I got to say, has been the craziest as far as how many power plays have been given. And with how stacked and heavy the top sixes are for both clubs, I like the over. I mean, Ottinger's been great. Gustafson's awesome. But with that much talent out there, the way they move the puck laterally east to west, I feel like there's going to be too many chances available. I do not think it's in the best interest of Dallas to slow things down. The pace they're playing at is helping them out. And let's be honest, Minnesota, I said it to you a couple of days ago on the show that they want to play low scoring, but frankly, it's not working out for them. So they're going to have to test the waters with kind of playing an up and down style of hockey. But I mentioned it a few moments ago about the big guys and not being scared to play those. For shots on goal, a couple guys, Kaprizov over 3.5, minus 135. Who's the other guy? Ryan Hartman over 2.5, minus 130. And I was looking at Boldy, but I think I might just take Boldy to get a point, just because I simply think that Kaprizov is going to be, there's going to be so much, he's going to be, I'd be surprised if he makes one pass in the offensive zone tonight. If he gets the puck, he will shoot it. This has the makings to me to be a little bit of a shocker with the two great goalies. I could see 5-4 for one of the teams tonight. I really feel like it'll be that open.
Last but not least, listen, hats off to the Kraken. I think hats off to you. Maybe a month ago, maybe a few weeks ago, I mean, the Kraken were like plus 7,500 or something, and which not a lot of people thought that they could win a couple series. If you haven't watched this series, and again, I'm not the expert, I can tell you every game or every part of a game that I've watched, the Kraken, I don't want to use the word dominated, but the Kraken have been outplaying the Stanley Cup champs.
There's no doubt about it. They have been faster. They've been getting to pucks faster. They've been taking care of things in their own end. Missing Cale Makar has not helped them. Missing Valerie Nichushkin has certainly not helped them. But it just seems to me that the cycle that they've got going in the offensive zone for Colorado has not been the same as what it was last year. Seattle looks quick. They've got speed that I didn't know they had in them, honestly. And it's really, really helped them become the team that they are. So I think that when you look at this game, it's hard to really predict a low-scoring contest. I think that I would love to take Colorado, but to me, I think anyone taking Colorado would be chasing. I lost the minus 1.5 on the series wager. I'm not jumping back in and taking them to win the series. The only way I think that they win is putting up 3 or 4 goals on the board. I don't think they can defend Seattle. I really don't. Seattle scores gritty goals. They score goals by, getting the puck deep and almost, working around and getting the defensemen to kind of lose their position for Colorado. And honestly, when you look at the way the defensemen for Seattle are jumping into the rush, it's really just blown me away, because my biggest talking point going into the series was Bowen Byram, Devon Toews, Cale Makar, Samuel Girard, the players for Colorado jumping into the rush. But with Vince Dunn and company for Seattle, it's almost like there's been a fourth forward involved. If Grubauer continues to play how he's played, though, they could shut the door on Colorado. But again, I like the over. I feel like a big square on the show today, because all I'm giving out is favorites and overs. But that's the kind of night that I think it is tonight, Jeff. I think we'll see goals. I think we'll see third period goals. And I feel like the favorites could get it done. But, You talked about that bet that you're 2-0 with this series, and I feel like it is a good time for it. For a team that's minus 155 to win the game at DraftKings, and they're plus 165 to win that first period, it's crucial. They've looked horrible in the first periods in this series. To get that nice plus price, I know you like it, and I like that one too.
I know we won't be back till hopefully Monday. I'm hoping we can sneak a show in Monday to recap these series. It could be actually a couple game sevens. Tomorrow is Toronto Tampa. If Tampa wins, there'll be a game 7 on Monday. Obviously, Jersey Rangers. If the Rangers win, there'll be a game 7 on Monday. And the Oilers and the Kings. Oilers minus 180 there. As we close and wrap up here, anything on Saturday stick out to you that you're? I know Tampa. You got a gut feeling that there'll be a game 7 there. I think we talked about it backstage. Rangers, if the Devils don't win tomorrow, we both agree the Rangers will find a way and win that series. The Kings, Edmonton's back off life support. Do you think they wrap that up, or do the Kings bounce back? Is there something on Saturday that sticks out?
Saturday, I one thing I will say is that I really like the under 6.5 in the Maple Leafs game. I think that we'll see Samsonov versus Vasilevsky all night long. The first period over hit in game 5, and then it completely settled in from that. And the goals weren't really nice. I think it will be a very, very defensive game. Neither team wants to make a mistake, throwing everything at the net, but I like under 6.5 in that Maple Leafs game. When it comes to the Oilers game, it's really, really hard to disagree that the over's a play, and that one just based on how it started. But I'll tell you, I actually think that LA first period plus a half goal might be a really good one. LA's had a really good first periods throughout the majority of that series. Last game, they didn't have a strong first period. I don't know if they can win that game, Jeff. I do think they could have a really strong start. So I know you like Edmonton to do well this playoffs. I like them to do well, but I think LA in the first period could be a good look. So money line or plus a half goal, whatever it might be. And the other game, as you know, I'm speechless. I'm a Rangers fan tomorrow. That's all I really have for you.
Well, and me kind of little chuckle in here. If the Kraken crack the Stanley Cup champs and the Oilers take care of business, that opens up the path a little better for me for
sure.
all those Oiler futures. So
yeah, you're cheering for them pretty much. It's a blessing. It's a blessing if Seattle beats Colorado.
The crawler's been going the whole time. At McInnis picks at Wager Talk at Sports Mayflower. Go to YouTube at Mayflower Sports. As always, we turn the we pass the baton to you to tell everyone what you got cracking, no pun intended, over at Wager Talk and where they can get all your plays, Andrew.
Well, I just want to thank you for having me on as always. I always appreciate it. Today was a kind of a rough one for me. It's a beautiful day out, and I lost power during 2 of my shows today. It's been kind of a frustrating day overall. I got some problems going on with my car that I had to get fixed. So I always enjoy coming on here. It's always good vibes and a real pleasure to be here with you. Right now over at Wager Talk, anybody interested in my CFL information, going to do a show with Jeff throughout the summer, but I have a CFL package comboed with the NHL. It's pretty much giving the NHL rest of the playoffs for $100. Throw in the early bird special with the CFL combo together. And the CFL season is 21 weeks. So that'll get you all the way to October pretty much. And that will get you as well to the Grey Cup in November. So it's one of those packages where you're going to buy it now, pay a few $100s, and you're set with me for hockey and CFL for the next 3-4 months. So that's the one thing I will push. Anybody interested, feel free, as always, to DM me on Twitter, and I'll be sure to respond.
Well, we can't wait. Going to be a fun weekend in hockey. And this is just round 1. So if you're not following Andrew, please do. Go over to McInnis Picks. Get all his work. And listen, we talk long-term here, guys. You ECSI VIP guys know what the marathon and the daily grind's all about. You got an opportunity to get the rest of hockey and CFL Me and Andrew will be doing shows all summer on the CFL. And even my eyes, and these are just for show, I'm blind as a bat, can read that CFL market now. So get ready for a fun summer. So from myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, thank you, Russell. Thank you, Mr. Shady. Thank you, Marty Lowe. Thank everyone that watched. Go over to McInnis Picks. We always thank him. Have a good night. Enjoy yourselves. It's payday, which means don't be the pizza man, guys. Look contrarian. Fade the public. That's what we like to say. So see you soon, guys.